Um, my name is Erion. All right. Right now I'm the age 45. All right. I've been dealing with drugs mostly all my life. Uh, I was born into a family full of drug dealers. Well, my grandfather was a drug dealer, and basically my uncles were as well. None of the women in my family were ever into selling drugs or using drugs. Not in my immediate family, not my mother or any of those, or my aunts or my grandmother or any of them. They were kept away from that lifestyle. Whereas though my grandfather was a very, very successful drug dealer, and he was good at what he did. He also ran numbers and stuff like that. I mean, he started way back in the day, I guess during the 60s or whatever. Uh, Me growing up, I was born in 1976. I had an older brother that was born before me. I'm the middle child. I also have a little brother as well. Uh, Mother was married. She was one of the only daughters that were married. Well, even sons in the beginning. Uh, One of the only ones that were married. So I guess we did have a family we thought would be that structure family with the white picket fence and the normal mother and father society uh, deemed family. Okay, mother, father, and three sons. All right. Well, as life progressed, I was taught how to sell drugs at a very early age. Uh, I can remember, like, at 8 years old, uh, being around drugs, and it was crack cocaine during that time. And I can remember sneaking down with my older brother, watching my grandfather uh, with his friends and family members, I guess, too, at that time when they were freebasing. And we would peek around the corner to watch this stuff. And we were curious, I guess. We thought it probably was cool or whatever. I mean, really, at this age, I don't really know what it was that we were thinking at that age, whether it was cool or whether it was just something that was different, and we were just curious children. So we watched that, um, and we watched it on more than one occasion. And as time progressed, we would find different things throughout the house, from my uncle leaving joint roaches in the ashtray to the little strings that goes into these glass pipes, which was back then these pretty glass pipes. I've always thought that they were like nice. I didn't, like it was like a knickknack or something. My grandfather had a lot of them, and it was something I was enthused with, and I thought it was more like artwork or a knickknack or a piece of not furniture, but it was part of the beauty of the home, I would say. But we would find the little screens that went inside of them. I can remember they would be laying on the floor. We would find alcohol and Q-tips and matches and stuff like that. And watching this stuff growing up, it was like just something that became a norm. And I can remember we're like my friends, we all had normal families and stuff. It seemed like it changed in a matter of days, like overnight. When crack hit, it was like one day you were hanging over your friend's mom's house and she was baking cookies and shit. The next day, it was like everybody's locking their door. Mom sucking dick for $5 in the backyard. Your best friend's mom sucking dick in the basement or some shit. It was like the whole world has changed. I'll never forget it. Oh man. And I had the type of mother that did not use these drugs. So I guess that was a blessing, but my father did. Uh, and I guess my mother, he was an alcoholic as well. My mother I guess she tried to keep that away from us, but by him being our father, he still was in our life for a time, and then they had their issues, and I guess things switched, and they like went their separate ways, or like my mom said, she put him out or whatever. I don't know how that happened. Was it amicable or not? I'm not really sure, but it was just like the experiences in life and watching these men that I looked up to, cause like I had an uncle Rick, like I really looked up to, and he basically took the spot of our father. Like he was always the disciplinary. He was there to talk to us and teach us the things that my father wasn't there to do. You know, we really looked up to him. It was a blessing from God that we had him, and not just him. We had my grandfather as well. But my uncle Rick, he was just more like a father figure in our life. And I know it wasn't just for me, it was also for my brothers and even some of my cousins. I have cousins that didn't know their fathers, and he stepped up and he played that part. Um, as life went on, things started to progress. My older brother, which was Wayne, we called him Wayne Coleon when he got to a certain age. We'll get there. Um, I looked up to my older brother. I wanted to be like him a hell of a lot. He was a very important person in my life too, and he also played some of the father role that my dad wasn't able to play because he wasn't there or because he was out doing what he was doing. Um, but then I noticed, like my brother, he was probably looking for a father figure for him or somebody that he could look up to, which I know he had my Uncle Rick, but he also looked in the streets to find people. And he did do that. He found other dudes that were a little older or whatever that he looked up to. I guess they had him selling drugs or gave him the opportunity to sell drugs. My brother liked to drive cars and stuff too, so he was really into driving cars at an earlier age. And the dudes on the block that had the money or the drugs or whatever was able to furnish him with the cars or whatever, or they would steal them or whatever they would do. And I looked up to my brother because he was very good at driving. Like, yo, this dude would drive a fucking car that had no front wheel drive, like it would only go in reverse. And he could drive that car with no fucking steering wheel, with grip pliers, no bullshit. Like going backwards the whole time. He would go backwards because all the car had was reverse. But yet it had no steering wheel. It had fucking grip pliers. And this motherfucker is driving backwards the whole time down the highway. And I don't mean he's going slow like a grandma. I mean speed and shit. Like he was good as fuck at what he did. Yo, no bullshit. He was really good at it. And I guess he got into like hanging around with his little squad or whatever, and they all were into driving these cars and shit and selling these drugs and looking up to whoever they looked it up to in the hood, because that's their story to tell, you know, not mine. But I used to be on the outside looking in, and I definitely went at parts. Driving wasn't my thing during that time. They would let me hang out with them sometime and be in the back seat or whatever while they're driving me around. That's why I know this motherfucker drove this shit backwards like that, you know. It was just crazy. It brings smiles and laughter to my heart remembering my brother, man. Like, just don't know. Um, my brother ended up being in and out of juvenile facilities. I can remember like it was like the late '80s or whatever when he first went to Glen Mills. He wasn't around anymore, and by that time, my little brother Reese, he was around, and it was me and him, and we had a very, very close relationship. And we had a cousin by the name of Man, which was my uncle Rick's son. And my uncle Rick raising us, and we all being around each other. My cousin Man was like our cousin, but he was like our brother as well. It was me, Reese, and Man all the time. And at that time, like my brother Wayne, he was in jail. Well, not jail. It was called a school back then, which was still a fucking jail for kids. It was Glen Mills. They had sports, so he did play lacrosse or whatever while he was in there. But yeah, I can remember waiting for him to come home on home passes and stuff like that. And when he did, he hung in Southwest Philadelphia, Chester Avenue, 55th and Chester. And during that time, it was a lot of drugs around. I know the Jamaicans actually had weed in all the stores or whatever, and the crack was prevalent. It was crack cocaine capsules up and down the block. Different people were selling them or whatever. Then we also had heroin. And that was around as well. I don't know when my older brother started to experiment with heroin, but at some point in time he did when he was still younger. And him and his friends were actually, they started to use heroin. Um, Watching him and looking up to him, I didn't look at heroin. I knew he did the drug, but to me it wasn't a bad thing during that time because it was like the people who was doing this drug were the motherfuckers who had the money, and these were the people that was looked up to in the neighborhood. Like, yo, if you're able to do powder cocaine, which is snorting it and snorting dope, like y'all are the dudes that the young boys on the block are looking up to, and we want to be like y'all because they're also selling drugs at this time, and they got all the cars and all that kind of stuff, and yet they're still young, and they have the things that we want. We're aspiring to be like them because we're younger, and at that time, I was experimenting with cigarettes and a little bit of weed here and there. Sometimes I couldn't even get high on the weed because I didn't even know how to inhale the shit. My cousin Man had to teach me one day. We would drink a beer here and there or whatever. But yeah, they were on a whole different level by that time. And I can remember my brother actually being upstairs in the house one day, and he's saying how he's sick and he hurts. He was like in a fetal position lying on a bed, and he's complaining like he's doing bad. This is as the disease progressed. And I'm like, this motherfucker lying. He just want to get high. Like, in my mind, I don't know what that shit does to you. So I'm like, man, he just trying to get money out my fucking mom or some shit. So, and she gave in. She enabled him. Um, and then he was up and out and gone. Him and his friends, I knew because being around and me listening to their conversations and watching them and stuff, because these are my idols. These are the people I wanted to be like. I knew that they would like catch the train from Southwest. They would catch the trolley and the L's and stuff and go all the way to Kensington to go and get heroin. And this was way back in the early 90s, you know, and I can remember even hearing them call out some of the stamps, homicide and all this kind of shit. Like, I knew because these are the people that I looked up to. It's kind of crazy now when I'm sitting here thinking about this shit. Like, I looked up to people who are on drugs. Ah, man. It's crazy. I'm trying to get real with myself and I'm trying to get gut level with myself. I'm trying to truly figure out uh, the root of my issue. Like, why am I in the position I'm in? And I think the only way I can do that is by really like doing an inventory about my life and to tell myself this story because me saying it out loud and me hearing it and me remembering it is bringing shit to the forefront, you know? Because sometimes we push away the thoughts and stuff that's in our head, like, so we won't have to deal with them. But when I'm putting it out there and I'm hearing it myself out loud, it sounds fucking crazy. Like, I looked up to motherfuckers who were junkies because I didn't know that that's what they were during that time. I thought it was just these cool motherfuckers who just got high because they just did it because they were doing what they want. And I guess they were being cool. I thought it was cool. I mean, but in all honesty, it was misguided as fuck. Oh man, misguided as hell. Getting back to the story, that shit just threw me off for a minute. Watching my brothers and them, man, and I would know from listening, like I said, them going back and forth to Kensington or whatever, to go get these drugs. And I mean, sometimes they would have cars or whatever that they would even steal, and somebody would let them hold, and all this kind of shit or whatever. And at times, I have rode in the car with them, and I can remember them yelling out "homicide," and they getting these bags and circling the block to get this dope. And my brother told me, he said, "Don't you ever fuck with this shit in this blue bag." And I can remember him telling me that. Now, I also remember them letting me have powder cocaine, though. It was all right to do that, but I was not allowed to do the heroin. I was told not to do it. And I made a promise then. I said, I won't. There was a reason why he told me that, and I respected him, and I figured he told me that for my own good. Um, And okay, as the time progressed, my brother was in and out of jail, and he became a stick-up kid. Uh, I mean, a real stick-up kid. My brother was a gangster, a true fucking gangster. We called him Wayne Coleon. He really was enthused with these Italian mobsters or whatever. He worked at the pizza parlor, and he was surrounded by Italians, and then he was around Greeks, and he looked up to these dudes, man. He was like the delivery dude, and he made the pizzas and the cheesesteaks and shit, I guess. But him hearing these stories and stuff that they told, that motherfucker named himself Coleon, and everybody called him that. Wayne Coleon. I mean, it was that was his name. And if you said that name, everybody knew the fuck you were talking about. And he played no fucking games. He would rob a motherfucker with no problem. And he always had guns on him and shit like that. And I looked up to him and I was happy to have that as my brother because I knew a lot of people feared him. And that made me safe. But I also know when my brother didn't have a gun, people didn't fear him. He wasn't a fighter, you know? I can remember times when we were younger where I would fight for my brother because he couldn't really box like that. When people were like, yo, take up for your brother, I would box any motherfucking body. That was my thing. I could fight my ass off. And I would do that for my older brother. I would box for him. I can remember one time we were on Chester Avenue and Timmy said, well, Timmy is like our cousin or whatever, and he hung with my brother Wayne, and somebody was fucking with him this day, and I guess my brother was like high and didn't have no gun and all skinny now, and all fucked up on drugs, and somebody called themselves for like bullying him or whatever like that, and I'm hanging around them during this time, and I'm on Chester Avenue. I'll never forget 55th and Chester, and Timmy said, "Yo, go fight that nigga for your brother, yo." I'll never forget. I did it too, and I fought to protect my older brother. But when that motherfucker had that gun, he protected me. I can remember my mom said one time she was, I think it was around Chester Avenue or something, in Southwest Philly, and somebody tried to rob my mother, and somebody came up and said, "Yo, that's Wayne Corleone, mom, nigga, you crazy," and they apologized. And they left her alone, and they gave her freedom to walk back home or go wherever she was on her way. And they truly apologized and was scared as fuck, thinking that he would retaliate on them, you know? And yo, and my mom actually, I can remember her telling me that. She said, because my son name was Wayne Corleone, like, because that was my son, that saved me from being robbed. And I seen glimpse of pride when she told us that. I mean, it's kind of crazy that you get pride from something like that. I mean, you should be proud of your children, but that literally saved your life, I guess, or it could have saved your life. You don't know how far they were willing to take it. And to have a son just by name and word of mouth, that's saving you. And I really seen that pride in her eyes when it came to that. I don't know. And it's something because I look for pride in my mother's eyes when it comes to me all the time. And it's very, very few and in between, you know. Uh, I've always looked at myself as the black sheep, the fuck up. I'm the middle child, first of all. That's just natural. Middle child syndrome, whatever they call it. Um, and with my dad, it was like he always treated my older brother, my little brother, different. In my eyes, I consider it better because one was older, one was younger, and I guess their relationships were different than ours were. Uh, I don't know. The time when I only remember my dad truly being proud of me was when I was suspended from school for having Playboy magazines, a blowtorch, and a knife. And my dad came to Turner Middle School when I was suspended, drunk with his drunk girlfriend, and they picked me up from school and he cussed out the principal and said, "Yeah, my son ain't no fucking faggot. He can't have fucking Playboy books." And he took me home with him. And that was the only time I truly remember my father actually showing any type of pride in me for doing something negative. It's fucking crazy, but it's true. Um, Still not even to the point where the drugs started to affect me. Like, I was out there with my brother, with the fight or whatever like that. And during that time when I was out there was because I started to try to sell drugs. And I can remember some Jamaican guys giving me and my friend Mike. He was like, "That's my best friend." He was my best friend, close as fuck. We were more like brothers than friends. And I can remember us being down South Philly and Point Breeze and the Boy Fang, and I don't know if you remember that shit, Mike, but I remember that. And they gave us coke to sell where your mom was living on Bonzon Street. I can remember the boy Fang name. I can't remember the other one, but I remember him, and it was because the fear when they start talking that patois shit, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. The fear was in me, and that's what made me remember his name still to this fucking day. And for real, they were the first ones that really gave me enough drugs to literally sell and to make a profit and to bring back the fucking money and shit. I'll never forget that. That was in South Philly. Uh, shit. And that's where I think I started to become, in my mind, a fucking man. um, Me and Mikey, whew, damn. We were close as hell. We were two lost boys. Um, I can remember dibbing and dabbing and trying to make this money. For what purpose? I don't even fucking know, yo. Like, we were just misfits, badass kids. I remember stealing cars and shit. We used to go to the auto mall and steal cars. And up around fucking the airport in Philadelphia. We would steal the fucking car. We would climb over the gates, get into the auto malls and go into the cars, and they had the plastic car keys inside of the visor. And I guess it was like a demo key or something for them to, I don't know, for a test drive or some shit. But anyway, these keys were in there and we could take them out and put them in there and start up the cars. And I can remember one night we stole the cars and we took one car, crashed us through the fucking gate, and then let the other cars come out and we ride around. I remember us stealing cars in the fucking airport in the fucking garage. And we were riding through the levels and shit. I remember being in a fucking Mercedes riding through that shit. Like, hold up, how the fuck are we gonna get out of here now? And we were trying to come up with different ways of putting wood over the spikes and all this kind of shit. But yeah, we did some dumb shit. We ended up getting locked up as well. I'll never forget Miss Sandy being in the courthouse and she was crying because Mikey might be going to a juvenile facility or whatever. And it was me, him, my brother Reese, and my mom and Miss Sandy, which was Mikey's mom, was there together. Our moms were there, and she was like really sad that Mikey was had a chance of going to prison. Well, not prison, but juvenile facility. And my mom, on the other hand, she didn't have these tears. She was a little stronger, and I guess it was because she'd been through this shit before. And I'll never forget, this was the so-called Judge Reynolds that they would say would look out the window and he would say, count the birds, count the holes in your shoes and all that. As I've gotten older, I've learned that everybody has one of those judge stories about the guy that looks out the window and make you count shit, and that's how many years or months he's gonna give you. But Judge Reynolds was supposed to have been that judge. And I'll never forget, my mom had to calm Miss Sandy down because she was so upset. Like, she was scared, I guess. And with my mom, she experienced this shit before. And I mean, she experienced it with my older brother, then she experienced it with me, and now she got my little brother in there too. And we're getting locked up for stealing these fucking cars and shit. And because I was the oldest, and I already had issues with hooky in school, and I think I was locked up before, and a couple other things, or whatever, probation or some shit as a juvenile. I already had experience with the system. Um, he basically put everything on me. And he told me he's doing it because of my age and because I was the oldest, and he was basically making an example out of me. And he did. Um, I remember I went to Slayton Farms. I think I had 18 months. Uh, my little brother Reese, he did end up coming too. Uh, and we both were in there together. And Mike, he went home basically like on probation or something like that. But me and Reese were in there together, and man, I started with 18 months, and I went from 18 months to juvenile life. I got into different fights. I beat people with soap in a sock, a pool ball in a sock. They called me Shorty Raw. They called me Furry. They came up with all these different names for me. I was so fucking skinny, and I was so scared to a certain point. But my Uncle Rick always told me, you get the biggest, baddest motherfucker, you fuck him up, and then you ain't got to worry about nobody else. And that's exactly what the fuck I did as soon as I went in there. And when I did that, I caused myself to get more charges on myself. So therefore, I ended up doing juvenile life because I stayed whooping some ass or stayed striking first because out of fear a lot. And I'm looking at these bigger motherfuckers like, yo, I ain't let him fuck me up. So I hurry up and put some pool ball in the sock and tie that bitch up and just go on that motherfucker. Yo. And I used to make up shit like I knew voodoo and all kinds of crazy fucking shit to try to instill fear. Now that I'm older, I know what the fuck I was doing. I was trying to instill fear in people because I was scared. And yeah, I ended up being in the juvenile system in Pennsylvania from, I guess, 12 all the way up to 20, maybe 21. I think I was done with it. And I mean, it cost me to end up in foster care. It cost me to lose a lot of years of my life. My childhood was basically taken away from me, y'all. And the shit that I've seen inside of this system, I mean, I seen kids raped. I seen motherfuckers beat the fuck out of them. I remember the guy trying to rape me, and he was so big, I'll never forget. This guy, Brian, I'm not gonna say his last name, but I remember it though, motherfucker. But he told me, yeah, you gonna get that ass up. I'll never forget, I was folding my clothes up. I'm in Slayton Farm, and I'm trying to put my clothes inside my drawers and stuff. I'm just moving into this cottage in this room, and he said, you gonna get that ass up? No, the fuck I'm not, motherfucker. So I'm scared as fuck, and I don't know what the fuck to do. And I can remember the drawers being out of the dresser. They were wooden drawers. And I'm putting my clothes in them, and somehow he gets my belt, and then he puts it around my neck, and he's choking the fuck out of me, talking about you gonna get his ass up or whatever. I try to hit him with the wooden drawer, it didn't work somehow, but he gets me down on the floor or the bed floor, whatever. He's fucking me up, and he got this goddamn belt around my neck. He's choking the shit out of me, and all I can think to do is to go into a seizure because I'm epileptic. So I went into a fake fucking seizure, and I started to shake and shit and make it look like I was going into a seizure, and it scared the fuck out of him, and it caused him to run out of the fucking room. And that's how I saved myself from being raped. And I went to the fucking staff members, and I let them know what had happened. And I was scared as fuck, yo. But if I didn't think like that, ain't no telling what that boy would have done to me, man. I mean, the shit that I seen in there, and I mean, yo, I've been in adult prison now throughout my life, but the shit that I seen in juvenile facilities were so much worse. And even like the children, I can remember being in there, upstate Pennsylvania, and I'm around all these guys from Pittsburgh. During that time, they got the Bloods and the Crips in there and shit, and it's young dudes. And I remember a little young boy, he was fucking 12 years fucking old, and he was telling a story about why was in there, and he basically shot a woman in her face. I can't remember with the lipstick, something about the lipstick being red. I don't know if he was a Crip Blood or whatever the fuck, but he was doing an initiation to be in this gang. And that was the initiation. And he shot her in her fucking face. And he ended up being in the juvenile facility with us. And being in there, it was a lot of Crips, a lot of Bloods, and they were like from Pittsburgh. And during that time, I guess like they were migrating from LA because these dudes in Pittsburgh just swore they were from fucking West Coast, like the way they dressed the dickies and all that kind of shit. Because during that time, we would wear our regular clothing. We weren't in uniforms and shit like that, so we could actually see these dudes wearing their chucks and listen to the fucking West Coast music. Spice One. I learned so much different music and shit from these dudes. Pocket full of stones. Like, I'll never forget this kind of shit being around them. And like they would gang war and rape motherfuckers and beat the shit out of motherfuckers and poke and stab and slice and man, the shit I seen, the crying that I heard. I mean, I toughened up over the years because I mean, I became institutionalized first of all, but I was so used to that being my home, like I became used to it. And I can remember like when it first started off, I would get like home passes and shit, but I would like fuck that, I ain't come back. And I can remember me and Mikey running away, and yeah, my best friend Mikey again, my brother, and we ran away. We went to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I'll never forget. He stole some food stamps from his mom. I can't remember exactly how many food stamps it was. We only had a few food stamps and enough for a bus ticket each. And we went from Philadelphia to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And we caught the Greyhound. We gets down there. These white girls are supposed to give us somewhere to stay because one of our boys, Butch, he was locked up or whatever, and we were supposed to go down there and figure out a way to get him out of jail. And we were staying with these white girls who were supposed to put us up and whatever. And I mean, we were young as shit. I think we was 12, 13 years old, maybe at the most. And we were not 14 yet, I don't think. But we were learning. We didn't really know what we the fuck was doing. Yeah, we got drugs from Jamaican Bull before, and my brother, and we was just learning as we go along. We really didn't know everything we needed to know. So we were going like every day we learned something different. And basically it was just me and him and these white girls. And we're in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. They introduced us to the Terrace and then Sherman Hills. We meet these guys from New York, and we're out Sherman Hills selling drugs. And these guys actually give us a better opportunity to make way more money. And they helped us out and they taught us how to sell the drugs there, which were 20s and 50s of powdered cocaine. It wasn't crack during that time in Wilkes-Barre. They would cook their own shit up on a spoon. Uh, Basically taught us the ins and the outs of the games. I know even when we made our money, we would go to KB Kids store and spend our shit on turbo hoppers and super soakers and shit. We didn't even know what to do with the fucking money. Like we would go to pet stores and shit. But we really enjoyed our lives. Um, the guys from New York, they actually taught us, and we made some fucking money. Oh my gosh. We sold 20s and 50s, and I mean, within an hour, we would make thousands. And so just imagine all night long. And I mean, we were making money like a motherfucker. I can remember this guy that was an Italian guy that used to get high. He would come with his boys, and it was like he was the boss, some shit from TV. He would be in the front, and he had a 44, and it was like long nose motherfucking revolver type shit, and it was chrome, and I think like a white handle on it. And he would pull that out and put it in our face. Well, put it in my face. I can remember that. Okay, put it directly in my motherfucking face, like. And he would purchase his drugs. He didn't rob us or nothing like that. His point, he said, for doing that is because people has tried to rob him or did rob him when they were having dealings or whatever. So this was his way of being safe. And he had his two dudes who were like bodyguards or whatever they were. It was like some mobster TV bullshit, but it like was cool to me. Like I'm looking like, what the fuck? And it caught me off guard, but then I became used to it because he would come like that all the time, and I would be the one that would serve him. And I can remember being out there one night, and I was going with a girl named Bambi. Okay, one of my first loves. uh, Bambi. All right. Her brother, he was out there with me one night, and we were selling the drugs or whatever, and it was powder. And he was like, yo, I know we were, because during that time we were doing volumes, the pills, V's, we called them, and we would drink beer here and there. And I mean, I would be so fucked up from that, and then we'd smoke a joint or something. Okay, so this night, her brother's like, yo, if you want to make more money, why don't you snort some of this and you can stay up longer and you're able to make more money? And that's what I did. And I tried it for the first time. I don't think I really liked it, really. It didn't really do too much or whatever. I don't know. But so, and it didn't make me like stay up or we talked. I can't really remember what I really got out of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like magic when I first did it or nothing. But what I did was I tried that shit for the first time, and I got my little kicks out of it or whatever. I guess. Uh, Made me try it again. I mean, I did go back to do it again, and the whole purpose was supposed to be so I could stay up and make more money. Okay, um, I made money like a motherfucker, and you gotta think we're young kids, runaways, and we're in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and we have no adult supervision whatsoever. All the adults looks up to us because we're the ones with the fucking drugs, and we're enjoying life. Oh man, I'm experiencing some of the most wonderful shit in the fucking world. Yo, we were even like I remember the girl sold me her fucking car. She got a car for her birthday. No, for her graduation. And she sold it to me for coke. And that was my first car, a Chevy Cavalier. Um, Really, I'll never forget it. And we would drive around town and shit. Like we were the shit. And we got the junkies to actually get apartments in their names or whatever, and that's how we lived. Or they were even on Section 8 or whatever. They had apartments, and we would move in their shit or whatever, and we would run shit. So we were too young to get shit in our own names. But man, phew, the things that I started to learn as I became a drug dealer at that early age. And I can remember making so much money we didn't know what the fuck to do with it. I can remember going to the pet store and us buying all these fish and shit. I wanted piranhas. They didn't have piranhas in America that we could get. I don't know. So I had to get Oscars. I never forget. Uh, we were just trying to enjoy life. And it was working. Super soakers, the water guns. I remember spending hundreds on it. And turbo hoppers, the car, the remote control cars and shit. And yo, it was beautiful for a minute. So much money coming in. No supervision whatsoever. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna cut this story off. This is basically part one of my story. Um, and the next time I will start with part two. Keep coming back. I guarantee you, you're gonna love to hear this story. It's a life that I lived, and a hell of a life it was. Right now, I'm trying to save my life. My daughter, she's out there right now, struggling with a lot of the things that I've struggled with. And I hope to God if she makes it out of that storm. I'm trying my best, and I'm doing the only thing I know how to do to save me. And hopefully, it will save her. Allah has given me another chance, and I cannot squander this chance. I've seen so many people die, and I've lost so many people. I've been through this shit, and it's for a reason. God cannot take me through all of this for no reason at all. So come back and sit with me and finish hearing the stories of my life. These are the stories that made me. It's truly real. And maybe it'll help somebody else. Right now, I'm worried about it helping me. Because I must save myself. I gotta save my soul. You just don't know the rest of this shit that I gotta get off my chest. But I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna give up. I swear I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it right. Thank y'all for coming to hear this story. My name is Erion again. Thank y'all. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. We all get 24 hours in a day. What are you gonna do with yours? I'm trying not to waste mine today. Goodbye.